with the Bridge River. Florence? What's up, bro? I just want to say it's such a, it's a cool feeling to be back in Whistler. It's awesome. Like, I grew up here. This was the backyard I grew up in. And, I was just thinking a lot today, it brings back so many memories here, skipping school to come to Whistler. Way too many hours in the train park. And, I was walking around the lake today in Whistler, and it made me think a lot about my dad, who was absolutely crazy, as you saw. The first day he got me on skis, I was 11 days old. He put me in a pouch of his jacket, kind of like a kangaroo, and went backcountry skiing in the Hollybridge Mountains. When I was about 2.5 years old, he decided, well, 2.5 seems about right to do the spearhead traverse. And so, it was, he gave me that connection to the outdoors. And I'm so thankful for that. And, he was this crazy adventurer, right? Like, he went around the world this way, that way, just chasing snow all the time. And one of the adventures he did, he decided, I'm going to try motorcycling. He had never motorcycled before. And he decided, I'm going to motorcycle for the first time. I'm going to start in Patagonia, and I'm going to get back to Vancouver. And on that trip, he passed away. This was about 6 years ago. He was involved with in a hit and run in Guatemala. And it was one of the hardest things in my life. And it was specifically really hard because he was a mountain spirit. He taught me everything about being in the mountains, and he died in a tropical place. And it was especially hard because one of the lines, he said, I was thinking about today, he always used to tell us, like, oh, the mountains are my church, and when I die, it's going to be an endless powder room. And we were always like, one of the parts I agreed with was the fact that, like, he's dead in a place that doesn't have mountains. And so, when you're going through this grieving process, you find things that can help you heal. And for me, it was going back into the Coast Mountains. And I would go up to one of his favorite places, you guys probably know this, like the Elfin Lakes cabins. I would tour, and I kept hearing these skis behind me every time I went there. And I would just do these solo trips there, and I would ski down the mountain. I could hear him skiing behind me. And I knew his spirit had come back to the mountains. And I think it speaks to the fact that the mountains aren't just this place we go and play. They're sacred. They're places of healing. And that's what this film's about, too. It's about showcasing these different relationships that we can have with the land, that we can heal the land, that we can fight for the land. And as a filmmaker, it's such a privilege to get to tell these stories. It's such a responsibility being around these stories. And for us as filmmakers, we want to honor that. And so what we did was 100% of the proceeds of this film go directly back into these community struggles. So 1/3 of the money raised in this film through film festival applications, through passing around this box that you're going to have a chance to donate. 1/3 of it goes to the Hoiston that are restoring the Bridge River, that are giving a fighting chance for the last goes to the Tahltan community that just faced some of the worst climate change fires in recent history, so it goes to rebuilding their homes. And the last third goes to the Musqueamog Zawadanic that have launched a rights and title case against the government over the fish farming issue. They want to kick out every single fish farm in their territory, and that includes 33 fish farms, and we all have a responsibility to honor that. And so I'm going to pass this around. There's pamphlets in it if you want to learn more about the struggles, but it gives you an opportunity tonight, we're so emotional after a film, to directly contribute to these struggles, because it is a huge sacrifice to fight for the Bridge River. It is a huge sacrifice to try to protect our last wild salmon from fish farms. And with that, I will pass on the mic, and you'll get to hear from these incredible friends and inspiring heroes today. Thank you.
Good evening. My brothers and sisters, thanks for coming here, being a part of us. I call you my brothers and sisters because we're humans. We're all humans. We come here to join with each other for one common cause: to protect our waters and the land. I always say, we got to remember, our mothers carried us 9 months in water. And that's why we're here today. We have to protect what's left for our generations to come, our grandkids, and those who are still not here. As humans, we have to stand up and start to recognize our environment is getting destroyed. There's so much out there. We don't have to take any more. We got to remember to leave some for our grandkids. What are they going to survive on? You wouldn't want to leave nothing in your bank account for your children and your grandchildren to depend on. Our land and our waters is our bank account. If they can't go to the bank and buy something for themselves to feed on, they have the land to survive on. We're not only doing this for ourselves, we're doing it for you too, and your grandkids. Because our backyard is yours too, to come and enjoy and be a part of, and really feel. I'm from a place where it's untouched. But right today, as you see on this film, Red Chris Mine, it's the only mine that really made a big impact on our place. They run transmission line all the way up there just to power one mine. And that mine is owned by Imperial Metals. That owned Mount Poly. And you all know what happened there. That's in your neighborhood. But as humans, we can straighten this out. Some of us are up in age. And we understand that our grandkids need this protection. And if we don't stand up as humans, where are they going to end up? What are our legacy going to be? My grandfather didn't try, or my grandmother, or my mom and dad didn't try. We need to try. I understand we do need these gold and silver and what else, but there's so much of there floating around. And some of you know there's a stockpile in China. They're going to turn around and sell it back to us for more than what they got it for. But you as humans, and me as human, we need to stand up together to try to save some for our grandmothers, grandchildren's. Without water, we will never have snow. I understand some of the other people have hard feelings for us, but that's all right. As human beings, we all at times have hard feelings for each other. And as family, we all sometimes have hard feelings for each other. But when we come to one common goal, to understand each other, our world is going to be a better place to live for our grandkids and you and I. And that we need to do together, brothers and sisters. Because if not, our grandkids and the children that's coming here is never going to enjoy what we're enjoying right today. I thank you for coming here, and I thank the nation whose territory, unceded territory we're on. It's been good week for us doing this. I have to leave my family at home, my grandson, but I know one day he'll understand. And I know one thing, I'm going to teach him to look after what he belongs to and what his rights is as a human being, to protect it for the rest of you and your grandkids. And he'll be the one standing here one day doing what his grandfather's done, because I will teach him and to understand. One common goal we got, all of us, is respect. As human beings, we got respect. Let's all use it for one common goal. I thank you very much for coming out. I thank Whistler for hosting this, and whoever else, Tamil, Brian, Jasper. I sure appreciate this trip. One thing I'll tell you, my heart is small, but I love y'all. Take care of yourself and your water and your lands, and protect it for our future generation to come. Thank you.
She talked to Ushia. My name is Rita Louie. I'm one of the Klabana keepers from back home. And there's more than just John and I. There's a lot of us. Some of our elders there are getting up in age. Sometimes what we do is very difficult for us. But we know if we just sit back, who else is going to do it? I have 7 children and 13 grandchildren and 3 great grandkids. So I knew that I had to step up for them, so they can have a place in our culture where to learn to do the things that we do up in the mountains, and to be able to be safe to drink the water that's flowing in the mountains. Because sometimes right now we don't know if they are safe. We don't know if our land is safe for our animals and our fish. We live off the land, and sometimes it's very difficult to see choppers flying over every day. We don't know what they're doing. So we have to all come together as one and then have a meeting and find out what's going on. It's very sad at times. There's times when we fail to beat the mine. There were sad times, but there were good times when we did win. And also our children and our grandchildren, they start standing beside us now. We're trying to teach them. Like John said, we're getting up in age. Someone have to take over. But we always said that no matter what, if we're called out on the blockade, we will go. We all said that, even if we just have to sit down. There are sad times, like I say, but when we're out on the land, it sure brings us a lot of happiness to be there. We could feel the power coming from the land. Our our songs, our sacred fire, our storytelling all come back. Sometimes it's lonely because you wonder what's going to happen, what they're going to say. But we just keep on going because we come out stronger after everything is over. Sometimes leaving one another after we really built that bonding is very hard to leave. But we always come back to that same place where we blockade and gather there, burn fire and have a meal together. And we always call upon our ancestors to come and help us. That's very important. And they do come and help us. We could feel their power. Sometimes as we're there, we wonder where the word's coming from. It flows. So that's where I am today in my community. There's more like grannies that stand up for the land. We've been blockaded quite a bit of hunters. Sometimes it gets really hard because they get mad at us, but that didn't stop us. As long as we band together. The grannies are powerful. And as we're learning more, and Tamo came to our community to work with us, and we got to know him. We taught him our ways, and it just was wonderful. He brought a lot of friends, and we did it alone too. We had a lot of people that joined us from other communities that came and camped with us. We had support that gave food. They gave us tent. It worked out so wonderful with all the help that we got. So we didn't felt alone. It made us strong to see that happening to us. I knew that we had to save our land. It's very important to us. Because I know since I was a child, I was out on the land. With my father and my mother, my grandfather. Even during the winter, we have to travel out with dog team. We didn't think about the cold, we just enjoyed ourselves to be on the land with our parents. There was a lot of teaching on that land when we went with them. In those days, we wasn't even scared. Like, my dad used to just hand me and my brother a rabbit snare and say, "You go set snares." So him and I go out. He said, "I'm only going to wake you up this morning, and after that, you got to get up on your own." And we did. And today, you can't even go anywhere. They say, "Oh, I'm scared of bear," or something like that. But that time, our parents weren't afraid. There's so many gifts on our land. Our medicine, that's very important. We still use our medicine, berries. there's a lot of things that we do. And like I say, when Tamil came and interviewed us, I thought it was just for us, you know. So here I am sitting here, and this many people. And I'd like to thank all of you supporting and coming and see this, what you came see. It's so powerful. And it is very hard at times, you know, to make them get out of our land, but sometimes it really helps to see them that they move on. But then when you think they move on, you got good hopes, they'll come back again. So that's another fight you had to do again. So with that, tonight I'll leave you with my quote I wrote when we had our gathering up in our area. We invited all different nations to come, and we had water exchange in our area. People came all over from a lot of places, different places. And when I exchanged my water, this is what I said. Our minds are in every mountain. Our memories are in every valley. Our children were in every river and streams that flows. Thank you very much once again. Thank you, Tamil. Thank you, God.
From Houston, Stratlib. So when I say Houston, I'm from the Bridge River Valley, which is just on the other side of Whistler here. Whistler is actually part of our territory. The Lillooet, Mount Currie people are part of our tribe. You know, so this is part of our homeland that we're sitting on today for our people. You know, so I just wanted to say that. But basically, the Bridge River Valley has been home to our community. We're kind of at the lower end of the Bridge River on the mouth that flows into the Fraser. And you know, the Bridge River was very important to our people, not only our community, but the surrounding communities that are there. You know, it was considered land of plenty. If any of you know where Terry's Aggie Dam is, and that valley starts up there, that valley supplied our communities with everything we really needed in regards to food. You know, the fish, the moose, the bear, grizzly bears lived there as well. You know, and it had a lot of other plants and things there as well. So to us, you know, in our language, but the English word is a place of plenty. Really, it supplied a lot of needs of our people. So when BC Electric, in 1912, decided to build a dam up the rivers and look at generating power, you know, they pretty well destroyed that valley doing this, and you know, cut the fish off. Originally, when they put what they call the Mission Dam in, it was one of the first dams they built to block the river up, so they can put down water through the valley, through the mountains to the other side into the what we call the Seton Lake system, Seton Lake and Cayush Creek. So you know, they had a fish ladder in there. You know, in the early 40s when they designed that, they had the opportunity to put a fish ladder in there, but then they decided, you know, to raise the dam to block more water, build another dam farther up to create more storage. They took the fish ladders out. So basically, the fish were, you know, cut off from where they went into these upper reaches of that valley to spawn. You know, it was in the day at the time, DFO, you know, basically said that there isn't enough concern for the fish really to, you know, basically gave BC Electric the authority to block it off totally. stop those fish from going up that valley. We used to get, people used to live in that valley. Some of them are members of our community. They used to be able to fish off their back porch, without having to go too far to get a fish. But historically, those fish used to be 70, 80 pounds of spring salmon, Chinook salmon. You don't see that anymore anywhere. I think this last year we caught some in the lower Bridge River. They were like 15, 20 pounds. They're really small compared to what they historically used to be. So our community's been involved in fisheries in the Bridge River system for quite a while. We've been studying them and trying to figure out how to, support them in what water's left there in the Bridge River below the dam. The fish have been really resilient. They've survived all this time since 1960 when they were totally cut off to their spawning grounds. So they've stayed in the lower reaches of the Bridge River and they've survived. We still have Chinook salmon, we still have coho, we still have steelhead, and we still have sockeye in the system. The sockeye, nobody's really looked after or anything, but they're still there today. They don't normally spawn in the river system. They need a lake system to support them, but for some reason they're still there. So we've been making efforts to support this, to try, because of the number of different things that have happened over the last 25 years especially, but historically there's been a lot of times when hydros flooded the river and wiped out a lot of these fish. But so in 91, 92, when they had some huge, had a dump river down the Bridge River, they really destroyed a lot of the system. And there was now a court settlement with DFO at that time to, put more gravel back into the system and build platforms and do more work around the whole system, but to try to support the salmon that was there. And then in 2000, actually, they created a minimum flow through the dam. 3 CMS was allowed to come through the dam to support salmon in the lower Bridge River. Our community really didn't want the 3 CMS in the system because the fish had really survived and were growing in abundance, from 1960 to then. And it kind of created, they've changed the whole system again. That right now we have minimal flow, but it's really created havoc for the Chinook salmon because the water's too warm. So there's the Chinook are emerging way too early in the system. Instead of in the spring, last year we found one in the system emerging in November, mid-November. This is unnormal for them. It's hard for them to survive over the winter months to grow. So there's a number of different issues, but that's caused that. But in our community, our nation actually has negotiated an agreement with BC Hydro around their facilities within our territory and in our community as well. And we agreed to water use plan that was they kind of did through the whole province. But when we signed our agreement in 2011, one of the agreements was the water use plan on the Bridge Seton system for minimum flows in the system. And that's what we were talking about in the film is, they, in the last 2015, that all changed again. We're only 4 years into the agreement and we're already having a dispute about, minimum flows in the Bridge River. And they changed it all because basically they blamed it on dam safety, which is Lovejoy Dam wasn't meeting the requirements for dam safety, so they had to lower the levels 50% in the reservoir. But the other concern was really the infrastructure of BC Hydro and their facilities, because the Bridge River system flows all one down, but all the water gets tunneled through to Seton Lake, and that's where the big facility is at generating power. Well, that facility needs repairs, and it has not been maintained over the life it's been there. So now they're into maintaining these systems. If you can't push the water through there, through the turbines, they have no choice but to dump it down the Bridge River. And that's what happened in 2015. They started talking about dumping water down the Bridge River again and basically changed everything again. It's created high flows in the system, and now that's flushing the fish out of the system again. So this year actually we finally, as a community, try to step up and try doing things on trying to build refuge sites for these fish. We actually had a apple spring project we built in 2008 for Chinook, or not Chinook, but coho salmon. Try and help build that stock. But through the high flows, it damaged that spawning channel for us. Keeps filling it up with siltation from the high flows. So, but we got funding from other resources as a community. That's what we did. We started reaching out to other places to find funding to try and maintain these sites and help the system out. And we got funding this spring, and we cleaned it all out, and it basically became a refuge site for the little guys in the system. And and then we had another project, the Blue Nose project, that you see it in the film, is another site that we did. We just went ahead and did it, because the bureaucracy, we probably couldn't have done it till next year with all the bureaucracy that's in place today. It took us 3 hours to hook up that up to the main stem of the Bridge River. And it created a great refuge for the little guys during the high flows this year. Because we had high flows up to 80 CMS, which are pretty high. And it basically is flushing all the little guys down the river, all the way to the Fraser. And the gravels as well in the system are getting all flushed out. So our community's been, agreed to try and push ahead and do the restoration work as much as we can. It takes time, it takes money. And we're still working with DFO. The guys that work on the ground have been very supportive with some of the projects we do. So we've been able to have their cooperation, but really it's been a struggle, and we're trying to work more and more into that. So, as a community, we hope to be able to keep continuing that. We've actually found other funding. I don't know if you saw in the picture, a big kind of a wash, like a horseshoe. We call it the Horseshoe Bend. It's a great place for building enhancement sites, and that's what we're looking at. We found funding to do some conceptual plans to try help build refuge sites and spawning channels. And our community actually went with DFO, and it's a mining claim, really. It's a big mining claim. It's historically a mining claim. That's how it was created. It was done by hydraulic mining in the 40s. When they were building the dams, a lot of mining went on, and they did a huge mining on that spot. And it was all done by hydraulic, by washing it down with water, and washing it down the river. So that's how that site was created. So now, the mining people are still trying to mine it. We finally got the mining department to agree not to have any more claims on that spot. And our community actually holds it's called a reserve of all things, but it's a mining reserve. No more mining can be done on it until someday that it gets changed. But right now our community holds that reserve for a fisheries enhancement. And that's what we agreed to with between DFO and the mining division, and actually a funding agent at that time was Bridge Coastal Restoration Project, bought all those claims out, and then basically that's how we got mining to convert it to a reserve for future fisheries enhancement projects. And our community holds that permit for that, so it's something that we've been working on for quite a while. We had that since 2005 now. So those are some of the things we're looking for, and that's our this is all new to me too. We're great to have Tamo and the people involved there to come to our community and be able to share our story with everybody. We didn't know we would be doing this, but here we are. I've been to Whistler earlier, I think last fall. We were here when they first came out. Then I was actually in Mount Currie the other day, and we showed one in Lillooet on Friday night, and now we're back here in Whistler again. So just like to thank you all for coming, and very grateful, that for the support, and I'm grateful for that we could share our story. Thank
you all for coming. Thank you, Tamo, Brian, and the film team, and everybody here for first and foremost connecting with themselves and connecting with place and showing us the way. My name is Allison McHugh, and I'm originally from Detroit, but I now find myself a community member in Houston, and I wear a couple hats. I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher, I'm a restoration ecologist, but I'm also a Houston community member. And I stand here, or I sit here, because I think we bring really very critical messages to all of you. And it's a critical time in our lives, and in society. And these are individual stories that we're sharing. But as a scientist, the big picture isn't pretty. You know, I testify as an expert witness all the time to the feds, to the environment commissions, to the province, to hydro. In 2000, 2/3 of the world's rivers were dammed. That was almost 20 years ago. Now it's probably about 90% of our waters and our rivers are impaired and not reaching the ocean because they're polluted or dry. Recently, there was a new assessment that came out that painted a very big picture. Since 1970, 80% of the life in our rivers across the world has disappeared. There's only 20% of life, all of life, fish, invertebrates, everything in our rivers. 80% of it is gone in 50 years. Our rivers connect the mountains, your snow as snowboarders and skiers, the mountaintops, to us in the river valleys, and to the oceans. It's all connected. You know, the orcas are starving on national and global TV because there's no fish in our rivers. There's no life in our rivers anymore. Imagine your body. Our rivers are like our arteries. 80% of our rivers, that life is gone. Imagine if 80% of your arteries in your own body were clogged. You wouldn't be here, you'd be having a heart attack. That's what's happening. And it is my responsibility to not just keep writing these stories to the regulators and these testimonies. It's my responsibility to bring it to you. We don't have time anymore. Life is going. We are documenting our own extinction. And it's a tough story to write. The time is now, not tomorrow, not next week. The time is now for each of you and each of us to look within ourselves and connect. Connect to place. Connect to the water. Connect to the food before life is gone. Because I, as a scientist, am documenting our own extinction. We are in the 6th grade extinction event. And I can't stand for it. So I want to thank you all in advance for going home and thinking about what you can contribute. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be, I can't tell you what it is. Only you can find it in your heart to contribute. It doesn't have to be climate change. It doesn't, it's all these boxes. It doesn't matter, right? We're talking about life disappearing in front of our eyes. So I encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to look inside your heart and find out how you can contribute, how you can connect, as these wise elders and filmmakers, film teams, and biologists have done, because we need you to join us. Thank you.
More on, it's been an amazing weekend just to hang out with all of the people that came and joined us at Houston so we could show this film in our community. But also it's just knowing that we started out being 4 different communities that have 150 to 400 members only, and maybe sometimes half of that actually lives on our reserve. We felt like we were alone. We felt like we were in this fight by ourselves. And then we get to meet these amazing people who are fighting battles that affect all of us. You know, and they come to our community and get to see what hydroelectric dams do to our river. Then they can go home and use that in their battle to stop a dam being built on their river. When we see them talk about the effects that mining had in their community, and we watch Mount Polly go down our Fraser River, and we have to pull out all our nets out of the river because we're scared what's in the water. I don't even eat fish skin anymore because I'm scared of what's on the skin. You know, and we get to meet Willie, and they talk about fish farms. Well, that's where our salmon are going. They grow in our system. They go back to the ocean, and then they get exposed to everything that the fish farm puts them through. Then they have to come back to us. And that's what we have to deal with. So we're all connected, and it's been amazing to hang out with all these people and share stories and make it feel like we're not alone. And then we get to come share our story with you, and now you can go and share our story with others, so that our little communities of 200 people don't feel like we're alone. And we get to have our story shared, so it doesn't just get written in a history book somewhere down later. You know, my daughter's here. That's my dad at the end. You know, I grew up listening to him. I watched him be a chief in our community. I watched him show and talk about all the struggle. I watched him negotiate with Hydro for 20 years just to try to get that flow written into our document, only to have it broken 4 years later by Hydro is devastating for us. My daughter sits here now and she's 10, and even though she doesn't think she's listening, she's absorbing it. And eventually, and I don't want that to be the story. You know, we talk about our elders used to be able to go out their door and catch spring salmon, 80, 75, 80 pound salmon out their door. And that's only 30 kilometers up from my house. And we found one Chinook female in our river system this year. One. You know, that's scary. And that's what I have to teach her. And, you know, I'm already dealing with a generation that's saying, my grandparents lived off Chinook. And now, my generation now, sockeyes are prime salmon. By the time my daughter grows up, are we even going to have the sockeye? Is she going to say, oh, we used to eat sockeye when I was a kid, now we're only eating pink salmon? I don't want that to be our story. So we ask you just to share our story, help if you can, and just help us in our battle. It's like I said, it's been great just to being able to have Brian and Tamil bring us all together. We didn't realize it was going to be such a big thing. And it's just nice to meet other communities just like us that are small and struggling and trying to fight a battle and feeling alone in it. And it's been nice that we feel we're not quite alone. And so thank you for coming. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, our guests, and we really want to put this film into your hands and run with it. If you have community members that you want to show, if you want to host a screening, if you want to bring it into your school, if you want to show your family, contact us at the Radicals Film or beyondboarding.org, or connect us if you want to get connected to these local community struggles. This film is a gift from us to you guys. Use it as long as all proceeds go back into the struggle. So thank you so much for coming tonight.
Yeah, and as we file out, I just want to add to that one thing, like Allison said so beautifully. It's not about ticking a box, and it's not about anything specific. It doesn't matter if you're the mayor of Whistler or you're wearing a dope hoodie. You know, you can do something. And if you do want to do something and you don't know what that is, find me on Facebook or whatever. I live in Pemberton and Whistler, and yeah, it'd be my honor to help with that. So thanks again so much. I can't tell you how much it means for everyone to be here.